Welcome back to another episode of Small College Conversations powered by Blue Frame Technologies. My name is Nick Rule. I'm the Director of Athletics at William Penn University and a Business of Small College Athletics board member. And today we have a great guest for you. I'm thrilled to be joined by Ryan Kaiser, the Director of Athletics and Recreational Programs at the College of DuPage in Illinois. Ryan, welcome to Small College Conversations. How you doing?
Doing well. I appreciate. Thanks for having me on, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we got a few really good things to talk about, and you're going to be able to add some unique perspective to everyone that listens. And a lot of ads and aspiring ads listen to this show, and so your perspective is going to be really interesting. So talk about, we all have a unique path to the chair. Right. So what was your path to serving this role, and was there a moment in time during that journey that you just knew that you wanted to be an AD?
Sure. So my path is probably a little bit more unique than probably a lot of other people. So my dad is 72 years old. He is the conference commissioner of the St. Louis Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, which is a Division III conference down in St. Louis. But before that, 45 or so years as either a football coach or a director of athletics. So to be honest with you, this is really the only job that I've ever known. Growing up, being a gym rat, a coach's kid, going to, learning naughty words on the sideline, don't tell your mom types of conversations at practices or at games on the opposing sideline or what have you. But, very early on, I got exposed to college athletics in the early 80s to mid 80s. I'm 43 years old now. This is actually my 20th year in college athletics. So I became a GA right out of my undergrad. 9/11 had just happened and I knew how to be a poor college student. So going back to grad school was probably something that was pretty easy. Asked a lot of people, hey, how do I get in? I remember sitting with Mitch Barnhart in my undergrad at Oregon State University, who's the athletic director at Kentucky now. And I said, Mitch, what do I need to do? And he's just like, look, the easiest job to be able to get into this business is compliance. And so here's a Division I manual. You can read it cover to cover if you'd like, but you need to know kind of chapters 12 through 17. And if you know this stuff, you'll be able to get a job. And so I did that my junior year at Oregon State and really started to do the deep dive, became a graduate assistant, coached golf, coached football at the Division III level. And then I landed my first job as a compliance coordinator at a Division II institution at Western Oregon University. And, I've been around the country. This is my 8th stop. I've been to all different sorts of places, but, I got into this business really because of my dad. I knew what the business was at a very young, early age, was exposed to it, was exposed to being around college athletes and around facilities and those types of things. So, the apple didn't fall very far from the tree. This is really what I knew and what I wanted to do for pretty much my undergraduate and then into my master's. And then I'm currently ABD with my doctorate. So it's really what I wanted to do all along.
I love that story because you and I met, gosh, a few years ago. I can't remember if it's the NAI convention or not.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And you told me about that. And I just thought, man, this is such a cool thing. I mean, you so often hear, people, they ascend to the chair through, just their own interests or through coaching and all that. But this is a family connection. This is deep in the family tree. And so I thought that was really, really cool and appreciate you sharing the perspective of that with your dad and all that. You guys had a good year, football program. How's it been coming out of COVID? And we're still in it.
But haven't got out of it quite yet.
How does it feel coming out of it, being able to play? And I was following you along on Twitter and seeing your guys' success. Been kind of fun. So tell us a little bit about how this fall's gone.
Yeah. So so we need to rewind back to the first year in COVID. And, we are, the College of DuPage is about 25,000 plus students. We're the second largest junior college in the nation. We are a non-scholarship athletic department. So none of our teams have athletic scholarship. And although that may change down the road, currently we all of our teams are non-scholarship.
Yeah.
We kind of got a running start for this year last year when We were looking around. We didn't play every sport. We didn't play football. We didn't play basketballs. Just did a little bit with volleyball. So, didn't play soccer. So the
Mhm.
only sports that we really played were stuff like cross country, track and field, and golf, baseball, softball. And
Mhm.
we had to kind of go through the ranks to try to figure out which ones we would or which ones we wouldn't play. I would say Chicago's very conservative. I mean, we're a huge metropolitan, and so we're about 30 minutes, 35 minutes from downtown Chicago. So we were more conservative and restrictive than maybe say people in another state. But with the sports that we did play, I came in here 2 years ago, and I just felt that there really was no, like, it was Survivor Island.
Mhm.
Every one of our 17 teams was on Survivor Island. That they wanted to do it their way right away, and instead of being out on Survivor Island, I asked everybody to come to my island.
Mhm.
Come to my island, let an administrator, let my team work with you so that we can set you up with success. And I would tell you, for the most part, everybody grabbed a hold of that and said, that's a great idea. Now, there was some attrition with some people that, just, hey, wanted to do it their way. And, you got to figure out who the right people are and ask them to get on your ship. And if they are, great. And those that don't, you just, some of them are mature enough to find another position. But, at the end of the day, this is the level of expectation that we have here. And, we want to be competitive in the top half of our league. There's a reason they keep score. We want to be on the side that is typically winning. And when you do that, and you make partners with coaches, and you want to partner with them, and you want them to use you as a resource, and you use them as a resource as you kind of mold and shape their program. But I'll tell you, a lot of this is we are very well funded. And a lot of these programs, I don't know another coach that when you tell them this story and you say, look, I'm going to give you this rock, and this rock is the football program. And most times I'm going to be able to give you the hammer and the chisel. Sometimes I'm only going to be able to give you the chisel, and sometimes I'm only going to be able to give you the hammer. And sometimes I may tell you that I can't give you either, and you got to go figure it out.
Mhm.
And but we work with them on a daily basis to kind of carve out what that program's going to look like.
Mhm.
And the majority of our coaches have taken that approach and partnered with the administration, and we've incrementally increased the bar for our level of expectations with these teams. And you go back to last spring, we were one of, I don't know, 5 or 6 teams only to go to the national championship for outdoor track and field.
Mhm.
We won it.
Yeah.
And what that did for us is we went from a team of about 30 on both the men's and the women's team combined. I think we've got 75 on both
Mhm.
our teams now. So we've over doubled our
Mhm.
team for track and field. And look, I don't know the pie in the sky or the magic 8 ball or whatever, but we're the reigning national champion in men's and women's outdoor track and field. And we're going to, do everything we can to retain that title.
Yeah.
And our softball program hit and finished 5th in the nation. Our golf team finished 4th in the nation. And we just had everybody start to hit. And I think, a rising tide raises all ships. And so when all these coaches start to see each other having success, they're in the office kind of trying to one up each other and trying to
Yeah.
do the best that they can. And, when we had that success this last spring, I would say that's the thing that got us going for this fall.
That's awesome.
We were able to and we did that all while being undermanned from an administrative staff until this year. I was able to add my assistant athletic director for internal operations, and so we kind of completed the piece of the puzzle, at least that I felt was missing on my end. And now we had football hit and win the national championship, and we hosted the national championship. And our backs were against the wall. In game 5 we lost to Nassau at Nassau, and we said, look, in order for us to make this national championship, we got to run the table.
Yeah.
And in the sport of football, that's hard to do because everybody's trying to win. And then we had our cross country teams go down to Georgia and compete in the national championship, and both of those teams finished 3rd
Yeah.
and was able to bring back a trophy. And our volleyball team was one win away, one game away from a 5-set match from going to the national championship in Minnesota. So I just think that everybody has bought into the philosophy of, just trying to be better, 1% better every single day. and to continue to raise the level, to raise the bar, to raise the level of expectation, not only for the coaches, but for our student athletes, where they got to knock it out of the park and be, good stewards socially, and they got to nail it in the classroom, and they got to have success there. And, we added a student athlete enrichment coordinator, which that is his only job, is to help provide services and help kids connect the dots if they're having trouble, whether it's time management or I'm struggling with math, can I get a math tutor, or whatever the case may be. And so now that we've all brought it together, we're just really hitting on all cylinders. And I just am so proud of this group and this team. And, we're excited. We've had a little bit of trouble with the winter sports. We come inside, kind of the COVID thing jumps off, and it's high again. So we're struggling a little bit with that with some of our winter sports, but, we're looking forward to getting outside with baseball and softball and in our get different sports and track and field again to obviously to have another really great spring and finish out the year. But, the fact that we hadn't won the Directors Cup.
Mhm.
And I know when we start talking about Directors Cup and stuff like that, they only offer one of those at the Division I level, and they only offer one of those at the Division II level, and they only offer one of those at Division III and the NAI level. And at our level, they offer a scholarship and a non-scholarship. And we hadn't won it in 11 years, and we won it last year. And that's the pinnacle. It's every AD. That is the pinnacle of success. And, there are many times, especially last spring, where never in a million years.
Yeah.
Never in a million years did I ever expect and be able to come into a position where we're just able to tweak just a little bit and set some expectations that, we just want to be better, each and every day that we can be. And I've got a great group that has bought into that philosophy, and we hit it out of the park this last year.
Isn't it amazing when you just provide clear expectations to coaches? Coaches are wired in a way that they want to be good. They want to be great.
And I think they desire it, Nick. They desire clear expectation and guidance and leadership, because, previously when they felt like they were out on Survivor Island, they felt like they had to make everything happen on their own. And now that we've given them a platform to not have to feel that way, where they've got a person that when it comes to academics they can work with, they've got a person when it comes to the budget that they can work with. They've got a person when it comes to game management they can go to. When it comes to equipment, they've got a person that they can go to. And next thing you know, you realize that you're not out there all by yourself, and that we are a team, and we all are, trying to push the rock up the hill together, and you don't have to feel like you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you talk about your experience in the industry, and as I've gotten to look into you a little bit more and to know you, just like you've been through everything. And one of the things you went through is one of the things that, at private colleges is just is a fear, right? And you were at a school that closed, at Lindenwood Bellevue.
Yeah.
And so what did you learn from that experience? I mean, you guys had a thriving department going there. You were really moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then, Lindenwood Big Campus basically kind of said, we're closing you. And and so how did that experience affect you as a leader, and how were you there for your staff?
The toughest moment of my career. Mental health was no good. I didn't want to be in the office because I did not want to have to sit in front of somebody and have to lie to them about, well, do you not know what's going on? And there just was kind of a bunch of ambiguity out there with people not knowing kind of where they fit in. And, the mothership that we call them, Lindenwood, St. Charles, at the end of the day, it's kind of they spread themselves too thin. They got out, we had all kinds of, we had 34 sports teams when I got there, but what we couldn't do is we couldn't recruit the general student. Mm-hmm. They were all student athletes. I think it was like 78, 82%, something like that, were all student athletes. So I was the enrollment machine. I was the group that was required and was having to have you got to get your number or else. Mm-hmm. And look, that's not a healthy relationship, whether it's with any sport, asking them to over recruit, because you and I both know this, Nick, these kids are one moment, one experience, one bad experience away, whether it's in the lunchroom, in the dorm, with a professor, And I think whether it's the NCAA or the NAI or even the junior, we've made it too. We've done this transfer portal thing, right? And we've made it so easy for these kids to say, you know what, bump this. I'll go find another spot. And I'm here to tell you that ain't happening.
Mhm.
Only 26% of the kids that actually go into the portal come out with another opportunity that's
Yeah.
funded by another institution. So
Yeah.
they're giving away what they have because they don't realize how good they have it, even if they're a backup,
Yeah.
even if they're in a limited type of role. And they're throwing that away because the grass is always greener. And I'm telling you, it ain't.
Yeah.
It ain't always greener.
Yeah.
And we work really, really hard to provide a quality student athlete experience. All of us do. That's kind of a buzzword, and we
Mhm.
talk about it a lot as athletic directors. And look, whether it's with your RA or whether it's with a professor or an adjunct professor, or whether that's a bad experience with the food and or whatever, you're one bad experience away from that kid and the college down the street who is fighting for that same kid at a
Mhm.
high school or as a transfer. And so look, the private model right now is just really hard, right? I mean, I would love to say that we, are a small school and we provide the personal attention. And look, some people look for that. We provide the 4-year experience and the 2-year model. We've got great athletic facilities. We got all the bells and whistles that kids are looking for. We're the second largest public university in the state of Illinois, behind the University of Illinois. And at the end of the day, we're providing a 2-year model, a 4-year experience in the 2-year model. But I'm here to tell you, man, it's rough sledding.
Mhm.
Higher education is such a competitive market right now. And it's not only keeping up with the Joneses with facilities and discount rate and every little thing that you can do, but all programs, whether you're in academia or staff or faculty, or whether you're, the custodial staff or the vice president or the president, you're all moving towards the same mission, which is providing exceptional customer service
Mhm.
to our people that are paying to come to school, which is our target market, right? Which is the student. And
Mhm.
so if you have one of those sections that is missing, whether it's in student affairs or the international side of things, or the recruitment staff or admissions or financial aid, or wherever you're missing, that could be the cog in the wheel that takes you out. And I
Mhm.
would say that's kind of what happened at Lindenwood University Belleville. As at the end of the day, we knew our target market was student athletes. What we couldn't do is recruit the general student, because we didn't have the things that they were looking for, because they could go to many other private universities and pay the $30,000-$40,000 price tag and receive a better living experience, could receive a better hospitality or customer service sort of a thing. And so I would tell you right now that it's tough sledding wherever you go, but specifically in the private sector, because kids are one bad experience away from hopping across town because somebody's willing to give them another $1,000, and instead of paying, $15,000 out of pocket, now I'm only able to have to pay 12. Well, when it all comes down to dollars and cents, because you know just as well as I do, you're selling moms and dads
Yeah.
more so than a lot of times, because they're the ones footing the bill.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of gets us into our next question, and that is just there's probably an up and coming athletic director out there, or
Yeah.
even a current athletic director that's at a 4-year institution or even at a 2-year institution
Right.
and
Right.
looking to go to a 4-year, or looking to go from a 4 to a 2.
Yep.
You've recently worked in both.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the surprising differences that you noticed in leading an operation? And not necessarily that one's worse than another,
Right.
or vice versa, but just like, what are some of the surprising differences that you didn't realize comparatively?
So I would say this. So just the private versus public sector.
Mhm.
You have more mobility in the private sector and can be more agile to be flexible enough to change directions as needed, as our market continues to change. As COVID kind of threw the wrinkle into things, we had the ability to shift. And we're funded by the state.
Yeah.
We're funded by the taxpayers of DuPage County. 25,000 people that go to school here and over 3,000 employees. it's like the Titanic.
Hmm.
Just to change a degree or two to start to change the ship and to kind of it takes a lot longer in the public sector than it does the private sector. But I think you're more enrollment driven. I mean, I was at an institution that had about 1,000 kids, and you count on every one of those 1,000 kids to attend school and pay tuition so that you can keep the lights on at the private institution. We've got about 350 athletes here, and we've grown just in this year, going from about 260 to about 350 now. So we've kind of raised the level of expectation. And when you have success, more people want to get on the ship with what you're doing. But we've got 25,000 students that go here, and probably another 15,000 that are kind of the adult ed or the online type of group. So 300 people divided by 40,000 head count, we're a drop in the bucket now in regards to what's going on. But we are also the face of the institution. And when you go win the Director's Cup and you finish third place in cross country and you go win the football national title, I mean, I think we were looking at our Twitter page, and just our Twitter page, just for, the most recent video that kind of is the hype video of the national champ. We had over 100,000 people watch that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 100,000 people that are like, hey, I want to come to potentially school. We had a football tryout in the gym here because there's snow on the ground. Yeah. 30 or 40 kids that came out of the woodworks that knew they were coming to work out in a gym because I want to be part of something special. I want an opportunity to play for a national championship team. And, the recruiting obviously is off the charts, and they're recruiting us now. We're not necessarily recruiting them. And so kind of the level of player that we're looking at specifically with football, and obviously, like I said, with track and field, has just grown tenfold with having some success.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And, okay, and we deal with some really odd stuff. I mean, you think of, every year it's like, I can't believe that happened. So what is the weirdest thing, the most surprising thing or something in just your day-to-day, whether it's at a game or which is the weirdest thing that's happened to you on the job?
I would tell you this. This is PG rated, but I'll say it. I had a kid at a university try to pass somebody else's urine in their drug test, and I was in the room when they were taking this drug test, and at the end of the day, the only really reason that I caught them from going is because most people that go and pee in a cup for a drug test or whatever the case may be, that's just a little part of the sample, and then the rest of it goes in the toilet. Well, this person didn't put any more in the toilet, and so when I was standing behind him, I realized that nothing was going in the toilet. And that was by far the weirdest, because the student had enough courage. Obviously, they were on a banned substance. Yeah. And they knew they were going to get caught if this was the direction that they went, but they had enough courage, because I would say that that's the thing that surprised me the most, that I wasn't, in all these years, somebody that has the courage to try to go into, our athletic trainer was in there, myself was in there, and to try to do that, try to pull that off in front of us is just, kids are getting more daring now. And, whether it's with the COVID test, whether they got to take it on their own or whether your institution provides it, I just think that, and I think the kids definitely changed. I mean, when I was a student athlete, there were far less questions, and it was yes, coach, no, coach, yes, sir, no, sir, run through the wall, and don't ask a whole lot of questions why. And I think now there just is more questions on, why is it important for me to run through that wall? How does that make me better? How does that, what kind of impact is that going to make on the team? How's that going to make an impact on me individually? And I think that's good. I think that, we've had, just in this last COVID year, we've really had to be flexible and adjust with the kids that are coming through now. And because they're asking a lot more questions, and they want to know why. And to try to figure out how to communicate. I think that's one of the hugest things that we've got going on is, people really struggle with doing this. I
Mhm.
mean, and you and I both know we'd be doing this in person.
Yeah.
If you weren't in Iowa and I wasn't in Illinois, this is the easiest way to do this. But I just think sitting in front of somebody and being able to have a conversation is just so different now. And some of these just small credentials that kids need, whether it's public speaking or how to interview, or is just so critical now. And the more that we can offer those opportunities, the better our young people are going to be when they go out in the workforce.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so much talk about what the biggest issue in college athletics is, and whether that's the transfer portal or whatever that may be. And I think you actually
Health,
just described it.
mental health,
Yeah,
huge.
mental health and communication, right? Like being able to properly communicate what's going on and how I'm feeling, and just those simple soft skills that we could teach that could really get people out of a lot of bad situations. I think is probably one of the most concerning things, just generational, that we have to deal with.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
this is one of my favorite questions, especially with someone with you that has so much experience and have been in contact with so many different people. What's the best piece of advice that you received? And I imagine you probably give that advice to others, but if what's the best piece of advice you received, and what was the best piece of advice you'd give to others? There's a lot of up and comers that are going to be watching, listening to this. This is an important question for them. So,
Yeah.
what would you say?
So what I would tell you is this. The best piece of advice I can give a young person that is starting out, whether they're in tickets, compliance, admissions, is do the very best job that you can while you're in that job. And, a, a lot of times you may think that the grass is always greener, or, I thought my skill set was better for this job and I didn't even get a phone call for this job. And God's got you in the place that he wants you right now, man. And you've got to nail the job that you're doing right now. And I think the best thing that I can tell somebody, and the best piece of advice that I got before I became an AD is, Ryan, you need to learn how to be a really good number two. And I took that to heart. And I came up underneath a guy by the name of Andy Carter, who's the director of athletics at Minot State University. And I was with him at Newberry, and I was with him at Northwestern Oklahoma State when we transitioned them from NAI to Division II. And so I worked for him for almost 10 years. And the thing that I learned working for Andy is I knew the role that he had, which was forward facing. And I knew being the number two meant that I was a little bit more behind the scenes. But my job was to prepare Andy and make sure he was ready for the spotlight and would never get caught off guard, whether it was an experience or curveballs or whatever the case may be. Because once I figured out how to be a really good number two, being a number one, it's not easy, but it's definitely palatable.
Yeah.
And you move over and you move the 18 inches over, and they don't tell you got to go to more meetings, and you got to take the phone calls from the parents more, and you got to work out the financial aid situation, and you're dealing with HR more. Look, that's the stuff they don't tell you. But if you figure out how to be a good number two and to be the best that you can be, whatever job that may be, whether it's in events or admissions or compliance or whatever it may be, when you figure out and you prove to people and they see it, they can see the work that you're doing and say, man, I don't want to lose that guy, because if I lose that guy knows so much about the institution, knows so much about the financial aid or whatever the scenario is, that person's going to be really hard to replace. That's what you want your boss to say. And when your boss sees that, they will continue to give you more opportunities for growth. They'll give you more challenges. They'll give you more problems that need to be solved. And as you work your way through those challenges and those problems, and you prove not only to yourself that you can manage that type of workload, but then what you do is you gain the trust, not only of the person that you're working for, you gain the trust of yourself. that you know that any curveball that or knuckleball that's thrown at you, you can smack it out of the park because you've been there and you've done it before. And at the end of the day, you can rest assured that even though I didn't get that job, or maybe I felt like I should get that job and I didn't, I can do that job. I can do the job of an athletic director or of an internal ops person or a compliance person because I'm doing it here now. And even though I didn't get that opportunity, maybe it wasn't quite what they were looking for, you just keep your head down. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other. I was 30 years old. And I was 26 years old when I interviewed at Upper Iowa University. 26 years old. There was no reason that I should have even been included in that email. I kept grinding it out. I had my master's degree. I finished and was almost done with my ABD with my doctorate. And I was starting to get looks at big time Division II athletic director's job that I had no business being in. But I kept putting one foot in front of the other. I kept getting credentials. I kept putting myself in situations where I had to be uncomfortable with being comfortable. And you just kept working yourself up. Because when you get a guy like Andy Carter in your corner, he'll pick up the phone and call the president of Upper Iowa and say, "You look at here. You don't need to look any further than Ryan Kaiser." And yes, he's never been an athletic director before, but he's been in every situation possible at the Newberry College. And I guarantee you, if he doesn't know how to find the answer, he'll do his best to figure it out. And I think when you start gaining the trust of people like that, and look, at the end of the day, you lost out to somebody that had 25 years of experience and it just wasn't your time. But you didn't let that disappoint you enough where you weren't willing to throw your name in the hat again and give it another try. Because I'll tell you, I've worked in a lot of different jobs and I worked at a lot of different universities, and I've been let go once before. And at the end of the day, I will tell you that the opportunity is yours. You can either let that moment define you, or you can let it refine you, and you put even more time and effort into your craft so that when you roll out of there, you're going to say, "I'm not going to let that situation ever happen to me again." And I think that's what I would tell you is you just got to keep going one foot in front of the other. Don't let it define you, let it refine you, and just keep getting better. Get that 1% better every day.
Ryan Kaiser, what a great way to end it. The director of athletics and recreational programs at the College of DuPage in Illinois. That was awesome. That answer right there needs to be on repeat for all the up and comers and the people looking for that first opportunity. So really appreciate your time. Great connecting with you again. Can't wait to see you there.
Awesome, Nick. Good to see you, man. Take care.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye-bye.